Whips. Whips are among the most unique and niche weapon types in the Dark Souls series, appearing in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, but always as an unconventional choice. They deal low damage, have limited range, and notably cannot backstab or be parried, making them highly situational. Their role is often tied to status effect builds like bleed or poison, and they're sometimes used for style points or specific PvP mind games. A whip's appearance varies, from the basic leather whip to more intimidating ones like the notched whip with spikes that inflict bleed, or the witch's locks in DS3, a fire-scaling whip made from a witch's hair. Whips are rarely tied to major characters, but the witch's locks have lore roots in the Chaos Witches, likely linking it to Quaylana or the Bed of Chaos in DS1, representing the remnants of the Witch of Isolet's failed flame sorcery. In Dark Souls 2, the old whip, found in the No Man's Wharf, references its fragile nature and deteriorated past, making it a rare, powerful, but breakable weapon. In DS3, whips are found in places like the Cathedral of the Deep or Farron Keep, usually tucked away, symbolizing their hidden underdog role in the combat system. The main character rarely has a reason to use whips unless running a challenge build or explaining their unique properties, such as bypassing turtle shields or avoiding parries. Because they lack poise damage and deal no criticals, whips are ranked at the bottom of weapon hierarchies, used more for flair than effectiveness. Their history in the series reflects their place in gameplay, a weapon of style, experimentation, and obscurity, never dominant but always intriguing for those who dare. Daggers! Daggers represent the embodiment of speed, precision, and lethality in the hands of the right player. Appearing in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, daggers are often dismissed at first glance for their low base damage and short reach, but they hold a deadly secret: insane critical damage potential, especially during backstabs and riposts. Their fast attack speed and low stamina consumption allow for rapid combos, roll catching, and quick interruptions, making them favored tools of assassins, rogues, and duelists. Throughout the series, notable daggers include the Bandit's Knife, known for its bleed effect and starter roll for thieves, the parrying dagger designed specifically to bait and punish aggression, and the Corvian Great Knife found in the painted world of Ariandel, wielded by bird-like assassins corrupted by rot and exile. This painted world itself is a decaying realm, hinting at themes of forgotten tools and lost warriors, where daggers echo the stealth and desperation of its inhabitants. In Dark Souls 2, the Mytha's bent blade, crafted from the soul of the headless snake queen Mytha, adds poison to the mix, tying into the theme of toxic beauty and treachery in the Earthen Peak. While daggers rarely play a central role in the narrative, they are intimately tied to the player's journey, offered early on in character creation for thief or dexterity-focused builds, emphasizing a high-risk, high-reward playstyle. Their usage requires strategic positioning and knowledge of enemy behavior, rewarding mastery over brute force. Even major NPCs and invaders like Chester and Yellowfinger Heisel wield daggers to express their cunning and elusive nature. In PvP, a well-timed dagger riposte can turn the tide of a duel instantly, proving that despite their humble size, daggers can cut down giants when used with skill. They may rank low in raw power, but among the truly experienced, they stand as the sharpest tools of finesse and style, forever carving their place in the legacy of Dark Souls. Fist and claws are the ultimate weapons of risk and reward, delivering lightning-fast strikes at extremely close range, but suffering from low poise damage, limited reach, and niche utility outside of specific builds. Appearing in all three games, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, they represent a style of combat rooted in dexterity, aggression, and raw skill, often used by monks, assassins, or feral NPCs. In Dark Souls 1, the claw can be found early in the Undead Burg via the Undead Merchant, while the Dragonbone Fist, a legendary weapon formed from the core of the everlasting dragon's soul, represents ancient power and primal rage, obtainable by ascending a +10 fist weapon with the Dragon Slayer's soul. In DS2, weapons like the Cestus and Bone Fist are more refined, with the Bone Fist being found in the Frozen Elium Lois DLC wielded by bloodthirsty warriors that once defended a lost frozen kingdom. It grants unique acrobatic moves and explosive martial arts, making it one of the most stylish weapons in the series. Dark Souls 3 continues the legacy with the Cestus, Claw, and the brutal Demon's Fist, formed from the soul of the Demon Prince, which lets players ignite their fists and unleash fiery explosive combos, symbolizing the chaotic power of the demon legacy. These weapons are often tied to NPCs like the Havel followers, Ring City warriors, or underground fighting monks, emphasizing their brutal, no-shield hand-to-hand combat ideology. They're rarely used by the main character unless pursuing a challenge run or PvP parry-heavy build, but they shine in PvP duels thanks to fast attacks, high combo potential, and parry setups, especially when paired with offhand shields or blessed weapon buffs. Fist and claw weapons embody raw violence, stripped of elegance or range, and serve as tools for those who abandon conventional arms in favor of primal combat. While ranked low due to poor range and reliance on specific builds, they're beloved by veterans seeking style, flair, or a brutal brawler fantasy, proving that sometimes the deadliest weapon is your bare hands. Curved swords. Curved swords are the weapons of agile killers, lightweight, elegant, and deadly, in the hands of those who favor speed, mobility, and DPS over raw strength. Featured across Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, these blades often resemble sabers or scimitars, designed for swift slashes and fluid movement. Their fast attack chains and excellent roll-catching capabilities make them exceptional in PvP, especially when combined with bleed or elemental buffs, though they remain weaker in hyper armor trades, making them less effective in strength-heavy duels. In Dark Souls 1, iconic curved swords include the scimitar, wielded by the skeletons in the catacombs, and the gold tracer given by Siren, one of Gwyn's 4 knights, found in the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, a blade that tells the story of a deadly assassin who once served the gods with unwavering loyalty. In DS2, curved swords like the falchion and shoto, which bypasses shields with its hook-like shape, are commonly dropped by enemies in No Man's Wharf or Harvest Valley, symbolizing piracy, rebellion, and unorthodox combat in morally gray zones. DS3 introduces refined options like the Karthus curved sword dropped in Karthus Catacombs, a blade favored by the ancient desert warriors who mastered rolling attacks and bleed infusion, hinting at a lost civilization that thrived on unpredictability and chaos. The Pontiff Knight curved sword, found in Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, carries the cold fury of Pontiff Sullivan's dark legacy, linking it directly to the main character's journey through corrupted lands, ruled by ambition and betrayal. These weapons often represent exiles, nomads, or hunters, figures who live and die by their ability to strike fast and disappear. Though the Ashen One, Chosen Undead, or Bearer of the Curse may not begin with these blades, curved swords become go-to picks for dexterity builds, especially in PvP arenas where reaction time and speed reign supreme. Ranked mid-tier and overall weapon types, their effectiveness lies in relentless pressure, bleed stacking, and outmaneuvering slower foes. Whether dancing through the ruins of ancient kingdoms or dueling in the kiln, curved swords are the weapons of those who fight not with brute force, but with precision, rhythm, and deadly grace. Halberds in the Dark Souls series stand as a symbol of balance between strength, reach, and grace, offering excellent range and high damage, but demanding careful spacing due to their tricky hitboxes and awkward swing angles, which can miss at close quarters or bounce off walls. These polearm style weapons appear in all 3 titles, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and are often used by elite knights, royal guards, or seasoned warriors. In Dark Souls 1, the standard halberd is found early in Undead Parish, making it one of the strongest beginner weapons, especially when upgraded, and it's wielded by Baldur Knights, hinting at its association with the fallen kingdom of once proud warriors. One of the most iconic halberds in DC's 1 is the Black Knight halberd, dropped by the Black Knight in Darkroot Basin, considered one of the most powerful weapons in the game due to its insane scaling and reach, making it a fan favorite for speedrunners and veterans. In Dark Souls 2, halberds like the Lucerne and Helix halberd appear, the latter dropping in Drangleic Castle and carrying a mystical dual nature. Its unique spin attack symbolized the twisted elegance of Drangleic's decaying nobility. DS2 further experiments with hybrid halberds like the Santier Spear, tied to ancient myths of a beast-hunting hero, and a weapon that requires patience and many hits to break its illusion before unlocking its full power, reflecting DS2's theme of illusion versus reality. In Dark Souls 3, halberds evolve further with entries like the Crescent Axe, Lucerne, and the beloved Split-Leaf Greatsword, a halberd-class weapon found in the Ring City DLC, known for its spin-to-win combos and status as a meta-dominating weapon in PvP. The Red Knight halberd, used by the Lothric Knights, connects the weapon type to Prince Lothric's army, emphasizing order, discipline, and tragedy in a world on the brink of collapse. Halberds often appear in the hands of foes that are tough but honorable, reflecting their status as a knight's weapon of choice. And their presence in fortresses, castles, and cathedrals directly ties them to the main character's journey through crumbling thrones and fated kingdoms. Though ranked mid to high tier due to their power and reach, mastering halberds requires finesse, timing, and an understanding of spacing, making them perfect for players who value tactical aggression. In the end, halberds represent the knightly ideal: precision, honor, and deadly elegance, balanced on the edge of a spinning blade. Katanas revered as elegant instruments of death-fast, bleed-based, and high-damage weapons that slice through enemies with precision and grace. Featured in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, katanas are iconic for their long, curved blades, swift strike speed, and devastating bleed buildup, making them dominant in PvP, especially when paired with resin buffs, weapon arts, or dex builds. In Dark Souls 1, the most well-known katana is the Uchi katana, dropped by the undead merchant in Undead Burg, symbolizing the early introduction of samurai-like combat to the series. Another fan favorite is the Iaito, located on a ledge in Blight Town, wielded by exiled warriors who trained in isolation, a nod to Japanese Ronin traditions. The Chaos Blade, crafted from Quelag's soul, is a cursed weapon that damages the user with every strike, embodying the tragic legacy of the Chaos Flame and his twisted offspring. In Dark Souls 2, katanas like the Blacksteel Katana and Manslayer appear in Iron Keep and Shrine of Amana, respectively, with lore rooted in assassins and cursed bloodlines continuing the theme of graceful killers walking dark paths. The Washing Pole, with its absurdly long reach, is tied to mysterious foreign lands and deadly duels, emphasizing isolation and honor-bound combat. In Dark Souls 3, katanas reach new heights of lethality. The Uchi Katana returns, dropped by the Swordmaster near Firelink Shrine, directly challenging the Ashen One at the very beginning of the game, a symbolic rite of passage. The Onikiri and Ubadachi, wielded by the Assassin of the Twin Princes, are dual katanas that reflect loyalty and despair in Lothart's court. The Frayed Blade, crafted from the soul of Dark Eater Midir, stands as the pinnacle of katana power. Its dark, abyss-infused blade slices through enemies with a weapon art so fast and lethal, it dominates high-level PvP arenas. Katanas are often found in places of honor, isolation, or deep suffering, and they're wielded by characters who choose speed, precision, and fatal efficiency over brute force. While they demand skill and timing due to their narrow parry window and stamina cost, their reward is unmatched in duels and bleed-based builds. Ranked high tier across the series for their versatility, PvP dominance, and style, katanas symbolize the path of the lone warrior, sharp, deadly, and walking the thin line between elegance and carnage. Scythes. Scythes are haunting, death-themed weapons with a chilling presence featuring unique movesets, long range, natural bleed buildup, and the rare ability to hit around shields, making them as unsettling as they are effective. Unlike traditional farming tools, these weapons are wielded as Reapers of Life and appear across Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, often tied to characters or locations associated with death, exile, and forgotten realms. In Dark Souls 1, the most iconic scythe is the Great Scythe, hidden in the catacombs, guarded by skeletons and surrounded by tombs, symbolizing the weapon's connection to undeath and burial. With S-rank dexterity scaling and high bleed buildup, it quickly gained popularity as a top-tier PvP weapon. Also in DS1 is the Life Hunt Scythe, wielded by crossbreed Priscilla, the half-dragon, half-god hidden in the painted world of Ariamis, a tragic outcast whose weapon causes intense bleed and reflects her isolation and hybrid nature. The scythe is crafted from her soul and represents the pain of being rejected by both gods and dragons. In Dark Souls 2, scythes like the Great Scythe, Scythe of Want, and Bone Scythe continue the theme, found in locations like Harvest Valley, Aldia's Keep, and dropped by enemies like Skeleton Lords, reinforcing the idea that these are the weapons of forgotten kings and necromancers. The Scythe of Want, created from the soul of Nishandra, the final boss, ties directly to the dark and greedy will of Manus, one of the abyssal fragments symbolizing death driven by desire. In Dark Souls 3, scythes reach their most refined and lore-rich state. The Great Corvian Scythe, found in the Road of Sacrifices, is wielded by the bird-like Corvians, carriers of Rot and Prophecy, while the Frida's Great Scythe, obtained from Sister Frida's soul in the Painted World of Ariandel DLC, becomes one of the most iconic weapons in the game. Sister Fried, a cold and tragic antagonist, dual-wields scythes in one of the most intense and emotional boss fights in the entire series. Her scythe not only bleeds enemies, but also leaves trails of frost, symbolizing her desire to preserve a frozen, decaying world. Scythes are rarely the main character's starting choice, but often become favorites among experienced players who appreciate their range, shield-piercing attacks, and sinister aesthetics. Ranked as high-tier niche weapons, they reward careful positioning and timing, punishing overconfident foes and turning duels into dances of death. Their appearance in isolated areas like catacombs, painted worlds, and corrupted lands reflects their thematic purpose: tools of exile, instruments of forgotten power, and symbols of death incarnate. Straight swords are the most iconic and balanced weapon class, known for their reliable movesets, quick swings, and beginner-friendly nature, though often outclassed by heavier weapons in raw power or poise damage. Found throughout Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, straight swords serve as the default blade of many knights, undead soldiers, and royal guards, making them a foundational part of the series' identity. In Dark Souls 1, the longsword is one of the earliest available weapons, often acquired from the knight starting class or dropped by hollow soldiers in the Undead Burg, symbolizing the beginning of the chosen undead's journey with a weapon of discipline and tradition. The Sunlight Straight Sword, wielded by Solaire of Astora, is imbued with radiant faith and ties into the theme of selfless heroism and blind devotion to the fading sun, making it one of the most emotionally resonant weapons in the game. Dark Souls 2 expands on the class with blades like the Broadsword and the infamous Drakekeeper's Sword, while the Blue Moon Greatsword, though technically a straight sword, parodies legendary weapons by being nearly useless, commenting on misplaced expectations in a fading world. DS2 also introduces the Fire Longsword, found early in the Forest of Fallen Giants, making it a fan-favorite starter weapon. In Dark Souls 3, straight swords dominate PvP for a time due to their speed, reach, and versatility, with the Lothric Knight Sword becoming the gold standard for dexterity builds thanks to its high scaling and thrusting poke. Found in Lothric Castle or dropped by Lothric Knights, it symbolizes the disciplined but doomed soldiers of a crumbling kingdom, reflecting how the Ashen One is forced to cut through noble remnants of order to link or deny the fire. Other iconic straight swords in DS3 include the Irithyll Straight Sword, which deals frost damage and is tied to Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, an icy moonlit realm corrupted by the Pontiff's dark power. While straight swords rarely serve as flashy weapons of legend, they're tied deeply to the everyman's journey, the knight rising from ashes, the soldier turned undead, or the chosen hollow standing alone in front of gods. They're common yet dependable, symbolic of structure, order, and the fading light of kingdoms long gone. Ranked mid-tier, they are neither the strongest nor weakest, but they are always relevant, embodying the essence of what it means to be a warrior in a world falling apart. Greatswords are the perfect fusion of power and versatility, featuring solid scaling, wide-reaching movesets, and the ability to stagger enemies without sacrificing too much speed, making them one of the most popular and iconic weapon types across all three games, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. These weapons strike a balance between agility and raw might, offering powerful two-handed swings and thrusting attacks, while still being fast enough to handle most PvE and PvP situations. The most recognizable greatsword is the Claymore, first found in Dark Souls 1 on the bridge near the Hellkite Drake in Undead Burg, a location symbolic of the Chosen Undead's earliest brushes with overwhelming odds. Its design, a broad, slightly curved blade, evokes the image of wandering knights and fallen kingdoms, and it's used by countless players from early game to end game due to its adaptability with strength, dexterity, or quality builds. In Dark Souls 2, the Claymore returns. Alongside the Greatsword, inspired by Guts Dragonslayer from Berserk, which can be found in No Man's War, highlighting the gritty, decaying maritime themes of DS2. DS2 also adds ornate variants like the Old Knight Greatsword and the Majestic Greatsword, the latter tied to the soul of Artorias, carrying his legacy of valor and abyss walking across generations. In Dark Souls 3, greatswords are refined further, with weapons like the Hollow Slayer Greatsword crafted from the soul of the rotted Greatwood, effective against hollows and symbolizing the Ashen One's struggle to cleanse the rot from the world. Other notable mentions include the Black Knight Sword, tied to the fire-resistant knights who once fought demons in the Age of Gwyn, and the Wolf Knight's Greatsword, infused with the soul of Artorias, returning as a relic of the Abyssal Wars, and offering lore continuity between DS1 and DS3. The Greatsword class is also prominently featured in boss fights, such as Knight Artorias himself, or the Abyss Watchers, whose wild but honorable fighting styles reflect the Greatsword's balance of control and chaos. Locations where these weapons are found, like Catacombs, Farron Keep, and Lothric Castle, are deeply tied to the player's journey through fallen legacies, corrupted knights, and decaying chivalry. Often associated with noble warriors, undead champions, and abyssal heroes, greatswords are ranked high tier for their flexibility in all game modes. Whether you're the chosen undead, bearer of the curse, or Ashen One, wielding a greatsword is not just a combat choice, it's a statement of resilience, tradition, and the quiet determination to stand firm against gods, demons, and time itself.
Great hammers, ultra great swords. Great hammers and ultra great swords are colossal weapons designed for those who trade speed for devastating power and poise-breaking potential, requiring skillful timing but rewarding players with the ability to crush shields, stagger enemies, and flatten bosses in just a few well-placed blows. These towering weapons are featured in all three entries, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and often symbolize strength, legacy, and tragedy, wielded by fallen heroes, corrupted giants, and gods long forgotten. In Dark Souls 1, the Great Club and Demon's Great Hammer are early examples, the latter obtained by trading the Asylum Demon's soul and representing the sheer brute force of early boss tier enemies. But the most iconic is Smaug's Hammer, a grotesquely massive weapon wielded by Executioner Smaug in Anor Londo, a twisted knight who longed to be one of Gwyn's 4 knights. His hammer, infused with lightning and gluttony, becomes a relic of a tragic figure corrupted by obsession and power. In Dark Souls 2, ultra weapons like the Great Sword, a direct homage to Guts from Berserk, and Dragon Slayer's Crescent Axe define the high-risk, high-reward playstyle. Found in places like No Man's Wharf, Iron Keep, or dropped from giant bosses, these weapons reflect the decaying world of Drangleic, where brute strength replaces order. Dark Souls 3 perfects the class with ultra greatswords like the Fume Ultra Greatsword, found in Smoldering Lake and once wielded by Knight Raimi, a fallen warrior consumed by fire and betrayal, symbolizing the weight of lost honor. The Lorien's Greatsword, formed from the soul of Prince Lorien, channels flame and sorrow, used in one of the most emotional boss fights in the series, as he defends his crippled brother, Lothric. Among great hammers, DS3 introduces the Lado's Great Hammer, wielded by a ringed city knight of Dark Eater Midir, whose sheer size and shockwave abilities show the chaotic power of warriors who served at the edge of the abyss. These weapons often appear in late game or DLC areas, like the Ringed City, Enor Londo, or Farron Keep, places that test the player's resolve, poise, and timing perfectly aligned with the weapon class itself. Although slow and stamina draining, these weapons are ranked high tier for players who can master spacing and punishing windows. For the Chosen Undead, Bearer of the Curse, or Ashen One, wielding one of these titanic weapons isn't just about dealing damage, it's about embodying the remnants of fallen titans, kings, and knights, and facing the end of the world with a weapon forged from legend, regret, and pure, unstoppable force. Reapers / Ultra Halberds. Swinging and ultra halberds like the Splitleaf Greatsword in Dark Souls 3 represent a unique hybrid of polearm control and great weapon dominance, wielded by players who master their unusual, sweeping movesets to unleash some of the most overpowered combos in the series. Though not numerous, these weapons appear in Dark Souls 2 and 3, often associated with forgotten warriors, experimental tactics, and corrupted lands. The Splitleaf Greatsword, which functions as an ultra halberd despite its name, is one of the most notorious examples. Found in the Ringed City DLC from the Stone-Humped Hag at the start of the Dreg Heap, it features a windmill-style spinning weapon art that can shred enemies in seconds when fully upgraded and paired with the right build. It's believed to have originated from a long-forgotten martial art, and its presence in the crumbling Dreg Heap, a place where all timelines and kingdoms collapse, suggests it's a relic of lost warrior cultures, buried under layers of ashen time. The main character, the Ashen One, finds it at the very edge of the world, where only those strong enough to carry forward the dying embers of kingdoms remain. In Dark Souls 2, true Reaper weapons like the Scythe of Want, Bone Scythe, and Great Scythe exist, wielded by necromancers, cursed kings, and abyssal creatures. The Scythe of Want, crafted from Nashandra's soul, holds deep ties to Manus and the Abyss, dealing dark damage and reflecting the hunger of beings who seek power at any cost. These scythes often have strange hitboxes and vertical sweeps that make them difficult to use but deadly in skilled hands, especially in PvP. Their locations like Drangleic Castle, Harvest Valley, or the Ring City are all tied to places of decay, ambition, and failed legacies, making them thematic weapons for players who walk the line between control and chaos. While not always beginner-friendly, these weapons have a high skill ceiling, and in the hands of an expert, they dominate both PvE and PvP through mix-ups, hyper-armor trades, and punishing combos. Ranked top tier when mastered, Reapers and Ultra Halberds are not just powerful tools, they are the final evolution of combat finesse and timing, wielded by those who dare to tame the swirling storm at the edge of the world. Spears / Pikes. Component placement. Spears and pikes are precise, long-reaching weapons ideal for safe poking and shielded combat, offering solid defense and spacing, but lacking poised damage and raw aggression. Found in all three games, they're commonly used by soldiers, knights, and temple guards, reflecting order and control. In Dark Souls 1, the basic spear is found in Undead Parish, while the Demon's Spear and Silver Knight's Spear tied to Izalith's demons and Gwyn's elite offer range and lightning power. In DS2, weapons like the Haida Knight's Spear and Partisan represent forgotten kingdoms and graceful warfare. Dark Souls 3 evolves the class with powerful options, like the Dragonslayer Sword Spear, forged from the Nameless King's soul, blending storm magic and spear strikes, found in Archdragon Peak. Spears shine in PvP for shield poking and spacing, and though ranked mid-tier due to lower damage output, they reward patience and positioning. For the Ashen One and others, spears are tools of survivors and guardians, not flashy heroes perfect for holding the line in a world on the edge. Boss soul weapons / gimmick weapons. Boss soul weapons and gimmick weapons are crafted from the souls of defeated bosses, allowing players to wield weapons infused with the power and legacy of iconic enemies. Found in all 3 games, they're created through soul transposition with NPCs like Frampt, Strayed, or Ludleth. While many are considered niche or underwhelming, some like Freyed Blade, Midir's Soul, and Gale's Greatsword are top tier in PvP and PvE. In DS1, weapons like Quelaag's Fury Sword and Dragonslayer's Spear reflect chaos and lightning legacies, though often outclassed. DS2 expands the concept with items like Smelter Sword and Chime of Want tied to Drangleiac's fall. DS3 refines it with powerful, lore-rich weapons like Lorian's Greatsword and Firelink GS from the Soul of Cinder. While their power varies, these weapons symbolize the main character's triumphs and the ability to wield the very essence of gods, kings, and fallen legends, making them some of the most thematically rich tools in the game, even if not always practical. Twin Blades, boss soul weapons, and gimmick weapons are forged from the souls of powerful bosses, letting players wield unique and often visually dramatic weapons tied to the lore of fallen legends. Found across Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, they're obtained via soul transposition at special NPCs like Frampt, Strayed, or Ludleth. While many are underwhelming in raw power, some like Freyed Blade from Midir or Gale's Greatsword are exceptionally strong when fully upgraded. In DS1, weapons like Quelaag's Fury Sword or Dragonslayer's Spear reflect elemental or divine legacies. DS2 expands with options like Smelter Sword or Chime of Want, echoing ambition and downfall. DS3 perfects the system with boss soul weapons deeply tied to endgame themes and emotional arcs, like Lorian's Greatsword or Firelink GS. Though often outclassed by regular weapons, they serve as trophies of conquest, allowing the player to embody the essence of the bosses they've defeated. Axes / Battle. Axes. Boss soul weapons and gimmick weapons are special armaments forged from the souls of powerful bosses, allowing players to wield the essence and legacy of some of the game's most iconic foes. Found across Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, they are crafted through soul transposition via NPCs like Frampt, Strayed, or Ludleth, often offering unique movesets, visual flair, and elemental effects. While many of these weapons are underwhelming or situational, some like the Freyed Blade from Midir or Gale's Greatsword are exceptionally strong when upgraded, dominating PvP and late-game PvE. In DS1, weapons like Quelaag's Fury Sword or Dragonslayer's Spear connect directly to the lore of the Witch of Izalith and Gwyn's Knights. DS2 introduces more variety, including the Smelter Sword and Chime of Want, representing ambition, ruin, and the cyclical nature of kingship. DS3 takes it further with weapons like Lorian's Greatsword, Pontiff's Scythe, and the Firelink Greatsword, all reflecting the final stages of the world's decay and the Ashen One's burden. Though not always optimal, these weapons act as rewards for overcoming great challenges, turning the player into a living monument of their fallen enemies. Ranked as hit or miss, they're often used more for style and storytelling than for raw efficiency, but in the right hands, they can be absolutely devastating. Curved Greatswords. Curved Greatswords are powerful, elegant weapons known for their wide sweeping attacks, strong hyper armor, and stylish, fluid movesets that blend strength with agility. Seen in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, these weapons are often used by legendary warriors and agile giants, emphasizing speed, precision, and overwhelming momentum. In Dark Souls 1, the standout is the Gravelord's Sword, tied to Gravelord Nito, God of Death, gained by joining his covenant. Its toxic blade and sinister arc hint at ancient necrotic rituals. Dark Souls 2 features the Murakumo and Curved Dragon Greatsword, the former found in the gutter and associated with skilled mercenaries, the latter crafted from the soul of the ancient dragon, symbolizing primal power and reverence for timeless beings. In Dark Souls 3, the class reaches its peak with the Exile Greatsword, dropped by the Exile Watchdogs of Farron, one of the most feared PvP weapons due to its massive damage, hyper armor, and deadly combo potential. Another notable weapon is the Karthus Curved Greatsword, wielded by desert warriors and hidden deep within Karthus catacombs, known for bleed buildup and its relentless acrobatic swings. These weapons are often found in forgotten lands, catacombs, or swamps areas that test the player's skill and aggression. The main character's use of curved greatswords represents a mastery of movement and momentum, trading raw defense for calculated offense. Ranked high tier in PvP and PvE, they're deadly when two-handed and used with spacing and timing, rewarding players who can weave through enemy attacks and strike with devastating arcs. Though not beginner-friendly in the hands of the Ashen One, Bearer of the Curse, or Chosen Undead, these weapons become a dance of death, fast, brutal, and beautiful. Magic weapons, catalysts, chimes, pyro flames. Magic weapons including catalysts, chimes, talismans, and pyromancy flames aren't traditional melee tools, but they represent some of the most devastating and game-changing weapons when built correctly. Found in all 3 entries, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, these items allow players to cast sorceries, miracles, and pyromancies, enabling everything from ranged soul spears and lightning bolts to firestorms and healing miracles. In DS1, catalysts like the Tin Crystallization Catalyst or Logan's Catalyst are used by masters like Big Hat Logan and found in places like the Duke's Archives, symbolizing forbidden knowledge and the dangers of arcane obsession. Chimes and talismans tied to miracles are associated with the gods of Anor Londo like Guinevere and Gwyn and are used by faithful warriors who channel divine wrath or healing. Dark Souls 2 deepens the variety with dark-infused chimes, hex catalysts, and advanced pyro flames, often found in ruined shrines and dark corners of Drangleic, reflecting the kingdom's collapse into chaos, heresy, and experimentation. DS3 refined all 3 schools of magic, introducing late-game catalysts like the Court Sorcerer's Staff or Yorshka's Chime, both capable of incredible damage scaling when paired with high INT or FTH stats. Pyromancy, balanced between the two, is cast through flames like the Demon's Scar, a weapon born of chaos, fire, and abyssal influence. These tools are typically found in places of knowledge or tragedy like Irithel Dungeon, Izalith, or Cairn of the Deep, symbolizing the blurred line between power and corruption. Though not melee weapons, they let the Chosen Undead, Bearer of the Curse, or Ashen One become gods of war from a distance, melting bosses and invaders alike with the right setup. Ranked as the strongest class when optimized, magic weapons offer the ultimate expression of mastery, combining range, elemental power, and lore-rich depth to overwhelm even the mightiest of foes.